How much money would Carlos Alcaraz pocket if he lifts the title in Indian Wells? The ATP has made public the prize money for the Indian Wells tournament, the first Masters 1000 of the season. The best players in the world will once again meet in Indian Wells, from March 4 to 15. The facilities of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden will host, as usual, the first Masters 1000 of the season, a tournament that players love and that all the great legends of the sport have lifted at some point: Federer, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2012 and 2017, and Djokovic, 2008, 2011, 2014, 2015 and 2016, have won it 5 times each. Rafa Nadal has 3 titles in the Californian desert, 2007, 2009 and 2013, and Jimmy Connors and Michael Chang also conquered it on 3 occasions. Carlos Alcaraz has already triumphed twice at Indian Wells, 2023 and 2024, appearing on the list of players with 2 titles, alongside the likes of Jim Courier, Boris Becker, Lleyton Hewitt, and Pete Sampras. The current champion and defending title holder is the Briton Jack Draper, who defeated Alcaraz last year in the semi-finals. And as in every ATP tournament, there will also be juicy prize money for all the players. Carlos Alcaraz, champion this year of the Australian Open and the ATP 500 in Doha, leads earnings this season with more than $3 million, specifically a total of $3,301,730. The Spaniard, in tremendous form, will seek his 3rd title of the year in Indian Wells and continue adding money to his bank account. The ATP has already made public the prize money for Indian Wells 2026 and the winner will take home $1,151,380. The runner-up will pocket $612,340, while the semi-finalists will earn $340,190. Reaching the quarterfinals carries a prize of $193,645. The rest of the prize money will be distributed as follows: 4th round, $105,720. 3rd round, $61,865. 2nd round, $36,110. 1st round, $24,335. Zverev revives the controversy with Alcaraz in Australia. He had a little physical break. The German has not forgotten the match against the Spaniard in the semi-finals, in which moments of desperation were experienced during a match that lasted almost 5.5 hours. What a match we witnessed just a month ago between Carlos Alcaraz and Alexander Zverev. An Australian Open semi-final that ended with an astonishing 6-4, 7-6, 6-7, 6-7 and 7-5 in a match that lasted 5 hours and 27 minutes. The German reappeared at the ATP in Acapulco after a month of rest following that tough blow, defeating Corentin Moutet in the first round and recalling in the press conference that unforgettable battle against the Spaniard. Zverev self-criticizes about Australia. "I think in Australia I played the right way. I lost the match against Alcaraz because I got tired at the end, to be honest. I had nothing left in the tank at 5-4. I remember on the first point of that game I should have hit the ball much earlier, but to do that you have to move and I couldn't do it," Alexander Zverev explained to the media. One cannot overlook the conflict that arose during the match. When Alcaraz was treated during the 3rd set for vomiting and cramps, an angry Zverev could not help but shout, "He has cramps. What is this nonsense? He can't go to the doctor, he has cramps. What else could it be? This is complete nonsense. Nonsense. This is unbelievable." These shouts at the chair umpire were added to his insinuation that the Australian Open benefited both Carlos Alcaraz and Sinner, who experienced a similar situation. With recharged batteries after the disappointment with Carlitos, all the back and forth about the cramps and the ban on being treated during a match was widely discussed, but Zverev has now left it behind. The world number 4 arrived in Acapulco with a different attitude. "I didn't play anything after the Australian Open. I took some time off and had good training sessions, because I want to continue playing in a certain way and with a specific style, and that requires a lot of training and adjustments. For me it's a very different game from last year. I'm trying new things. I arrived here several days ago, so I've had time to train and try to have a good tournament." However, luck does not seem to be on his side, as he fell in the round of 16 to Kekmanovic in a tight 3-set match in which the German had victory within reach after finishing 3-6, 7-6, 3, and 6-7, 7. Alcaraz stands firm and responds to Sinner's threat. The rivalry that sustains modern tennis has added a new chapter off the court. With Roland Garros 2026 on the horizon, Jannik Sinner has not hidden his hunger for glory, openly declaring his intention to dethrone Carlos Alcaraz on his home turf. However, the Spaniard, far from engaging in a war of words, has responded with a philosophy of steel. In an appearance that exuded serenity, the Spaniard made it clear that his radar does not detect others' movements. For Carlitos, tennis has ceased to be a chase for records and has become a celebration of health. I've been injured, and during that time when you're out of competition, you miss it. You realize how beautiful it is. So once I'm able to do it, it's time to stop thinking about the rest and think about how fortunate I am, Alcaraz confessed. This statement is not just a diplomatic phrase, it is a declaration of intent. After having tasted the bitter flavor of an injury layoff, Alcaraz has reset his mentality. He now manages the poison of competition through enjoyment, a psychological tactic that is often more lethal than any inside-out forehand. The assault on the clay throne. While the tennis world anticipates a train crash in Paris, Alcaraz keeps a steady pulse. His goals for 2026 are clear: the Masters 1000 events and the Grand Slams. But above the trophies, his main objective is absolute dominance through happiness on court. Even if I lose a point or a match, you'll see me happy because I love competing, declared the world number one. Sinner wants the throne, but Alcaraz has built a mental fortress where there is room only for his own tennis. The battle for Roland Garros has already begun, and it is not being played with rackets, but with the mind. Jannik Sinner explained his biggest crisis in the world of tennis. Jannik Sinner bowed out earlier than expected in the ATP 500 in Doha. Could Mensik beat him? Yes. But it is still one of the biggest surprises of the tournament. The Italian acknowledged his opponent's high level of serving, admitted specific errors at key moments and acknowledged that he was not entirely clear-minded in certain decisions, although he made it clear that he is not worried about his current level. I made a couple too many errors, but that can happen. I'm a bit upset about how I handled certain moments, although it's something that can occur. Every player goes through ups and downs. I've had 2 incredible years and now I'm in a small slump, but it's not something that worries me. I know I can play better tennis. In our job we all have ups and downs. With this Sinner defeat, the ATP 500 Doha trophy seems set for Carlos Alcaraz, who will have the chance to win another title and extend his dominance at the top of the rankings. The difference between the Spaniard and the Italian is 2,850 points, which could increase to 3,150 points if the world number one maintains his streak in Qatar. What's coming in the short term? I know how to come back. I'm very calm. I'm sure the work will pay off, the results will come. Maybe not in Indian Wells or Miami, but the work will pay off. It's no big deal. In the medium term? We are working on the physical side. Now we have 2 weeks in which we can work well and refuel for the upcoming tournaments. I'm trying to find a good balance because in Australia I was a bit flat. In this match I tried to push a bit more, but here too I have to find the balance. And in the long term? One of my big goals will be Roland Garros, but that goal is still far away. We've seen that all players have suffered throughout their careers, although I wouldn't call this suffering yet. I've simply lost a couple of matches. I must also remember what I've done in the last 3 years, in which I've won many matches and lost few. The confidence to play good tennis is there. An Italian tennis legend such as Adriano Panatta has called for respect for Jannik Sinner after the large amount of criticism he is receiving due to his defeat against Djokovic in Australia and, above all, against Mensik in Doha. The former player has pointed to Spain as one of the main sources of criticism toward the current world number 2. Known for always expressing his opinion very vehemently, the Italian tennis legend Adriano Panatta has spoken about the current form of Jannik Sinner. Accustomed to excellence in his game, the current world number 2 fell to Novak Djokovic in the semi-finals of the Australian Open 2026 after having won the Oceanic Grand Slam twice in a row. Although the defeat that has raised alarms was the one against Jakub Mensik in the quarterfinals of the ATP 500 in Doha. For Panatta, that crisis does not exist. It is logical that they are writing this now and they would be happy if it were so, but I regret to contradict them. Jannik is not in crisis at all, Adriano Panatta began, referring to the criticism from Spain toward Sinner, in remarks to La Nuova D's and in statements reported by Corriere dello Sport.